Today on Commander Replay, we continue testing out this new Firesong and Sunspeaker build, and this time we're gonna have some fun with Endbringer. Is Endbringer strong enough to power us past our opponents? Find out next on Commander Replay. I just want to say thank you to all of my awesome Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Welcome back, everyone. Playing some Firesong and Sunspeaker. Trying to see what we can do with this deck now that Smothering Tithe is a card, and we've loaded up on wheels, so we'll see what happens. We've kept an opening hand that looks like this. We've got 2 lands plus a mana crypt. As long as we catch a land or 2, we should be able to get into this Neheb and this Chandra really quickly, which sounds pretty interesting, so we'll see where things go. Today I am joined by 3 Patreon supporters. First up, we have Archangel227 playing this Toshiro Umezawa deck. That deck is probably all removal spells, which is not great. Might make things a little bit difficult for us. Next up, we have Mugen80 playing Rafiq of the Many. Sweet commander from a ways back that was the bane of the format for a little while. Back when Voltron decks were really a thing, Rafiq was one of the best, so gotta watch out for that. It can take you out of the game in one swing, so yeah, need to be very, very careful. And then finally, we have Z-Sauce playing a Ramos Dragon Engine deck. Not entirely sure what they're up to. I feel like they were talking about this deck in the chat the other day. I can't remember what they were talking about, so we'll see what happens. But that's going to bring it to our turn 1. We draw an Arid Mesa. Let's play the Arid Mesa, crack the Arid Mesa. We'll get Sacred Foundry tapped. No need to play the Mana Crypt just yet, so we'll pass like that. The Rafiq opponent saying that their Rafiq deck is a political deck. That's interesting. We have another Patreon supporter in the game just watching and says, politics of who dies first. Actually, we have a couple Patreon supporters hanging out in the game. So that's going to bring it to our turn 2. We draw into an Endbringer card I'm pretty excited to try out. Let's get down this... We'll be on 4 mana? Yeah, nothing to really do with 4 mana, so I guess we get the Plains? Yeah, get the Plains down. Next turn we can get the Neheb going. If we go Neheb Aurelia, that seems like pretty good times. Here comes a Noble Hierarch for the Rafiq of the Many opponent. That seems pretty good. Najila the Blade Blossom coming down for the Ramos. That's a pretty good one. Don't really want to, like, burn removal on that. Well, I guess we can use the minus mode on Chandra to get rid of that in a couple turns. Still need to draw another land. What's the land count in this deck? The land count in this deck should be pretty good. Also, there's about 4 cards in the deck that find its additional lands. Things like Land Tax, Gift of Estates, Boreas Charger, and I think there's one more, Thaumatic Compass. So there's the land we need. Excellent. So right here, let's get the mountain down, play the Mana Crypt, play the Neheb into play, and we'll pass the turn like that. Doc Chalk in the chat says, I'm a simple man. I see Najila and I want her gone. Yeah, that's a pretty good stance to take on Najila because she can cause some problems. Rafiq says they accept cash for political favors. Oh, nice. So they lay down a hunted troll. Let's see who... Oh, yep, they were asking who wanted flying creatures, and they're going to give them to the Toshiro Umezawa. There is an 8/4 hunted troll on the table, which has the ability to regenerate. Not a card that I typically consider, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, ooh, you leave a green mana up with that thing? Yeah, I know you're giving someone flyers, but like, an 8/4 with regenerate is just big. It's just, you can do a lot with that. Sky Shroud Claim coming down for the Ramos opponent. That's a pretty good one. Brings in 2 lands tapped. That's going to bring it back to our turn. Mana Crypt's going to trigger. Let's see what we draw. Let's go heads. 1 the flip. We draw another land. Okay. Let's get this Hainware Battlements down just in case we get wheeled for some reason. Ugh. So, like, the thing that I probably should do is play Chandra and hit everything for 4. That would get rid of this hunted troll and everything else on board, but I was kind of hoping to keep the Chandra around for the wheeling purposes. Although, I guess we have Aurelia in hand. We don't want to wheel Aurelia, nor do we want to wheel Aurelia's Fury. How about that? Aurelia and her Fury. Sweet flavor win right there. Anyway, I guess we'll use Endbringer to get that card draw going, so I think it is going to be Chandra as a board wipe. This is a Planeswalker. I actually picked up a bunch of paper copies a while back, but I haven't been using them. I need to consider using this card just a bit more. I think it's underrated. So Chandra everything for 4. And that wipes away all creatures except our Neheb. And one of the things I've talked about a little bit with Neheb is that, like, beyond the mana ability, which is very good, I mean, a 4/6 for 5 mana is very solid. It doesn't die to that many things. The ability combined with its power and toughness is just a lot of value for 5 mana. So very solid 4/6 creature. And we'll get 4 red mana in our second main. Nothing to do with that. So we'll pass the turn. End step, Succumb to Temptation for the Umezawa opponent. There's a Phyrexian Arena coming down for the Toshiro. Plea for power. Starting with you, each player votes for time or knowledge. If time gets more votes, take an extra turn. If knowledge gets more votes, draw 3 cards. Not a bad card. Doesn't get used all that much. Knowledge. Yeah, let's just go knowledge. Concentrate. Generally less powerful than a time warp. So opponent goes back up to 7 cards. Ramos Dragon Engine coming into play. Sure. Opponent leaves up 1 mana. Could be a Path to Exile. Something like that. Always scary. Nope. They tap it out. All right. Okay, so that brings it back to our turn. Mana Crypt trigger. We draw a Worn Power Stone. So the thing that I'm thinking about doing right here is going Aurelia Neheb, get the Endbringer down, and then just hope there's no board wipe. The question is, do we want to start drawing with Endbringer now, or do we want to try to chance it? And maybe we go Endbringer first. We get 4 red mana off the Neheb. Use that, which means we'll only be able to draw 1 with the Endbringer. Yeah, okay, let's go for the Aurelia play instead then. Get the Wooded Foothills down, crack the Wooded Foothills. The Aurelia play will give us so much mana. Get the Plateau, cast Aurelia. Aurelia's into play, go to combat. Combat 1 into the Rafiq opponent. Aurelia will trigger. Combat 2 into the Toshiro. Oh, we get 14 red mana. That is so much mana. Oh, man. So we're not able to draw any cards with Endbringer yet because of how much colorless mana we have. I'm actually not going to play the Endbringer right here because after playing that, I just looked at the situation and realized, like, this is prime board wipe territory for the black opponent or anyone, really anyone. All of our opponents playing colors that could be running board wipes like crazy. So, yeah, it's already a board wipe situation, and we really need to draw with that Endbringer if we want to have success. So I'm going to wait till next turn before getting that down, so that way we can ensure some card draw before it gets blown up. Oh, it doesn't have haste, does it? It does not have... Well, we can give it haste with Hainware. It told opponents, and you guys thought I was playing Firesong and Sunspeaker, and they say, the hidden commander in every PJ Boros deck. Yep, Aurelia the War Leader. And I think I actually put Thalia's Lancers in the deck so that I can find Aurelia and Gisela much easier. Lightning Greaves off the top would be the card that, like, I want to draw the most. Ooh, a Diabolic Edict. Oh, which one do we want? Aurelia or Neheb? I'm going to sacrifice the Aurelia as much as that pains me. I really want the mana off of Neheb. Nope, doesn't matter. Opponent's got 2 removal spells, so they all going down. Yep. Put the other one on Ramos. So Neheb and Ramos getting shot down by the Malicious Affliction, so our choice mattered not right there. And like I said, we really need to draw some cards with this Endbringer, which is also why I really didn't want to give up the Chandra right there, but ugh. A chance to remove a large creature with Regenerate is usually worth taking. Recross the Paths for the Rafiq opponent. Recross the Paths again for the Rafiq opponent. They must have won the clash. Gaia Reach Sanitarium was the revealed clash card, and Progenitor Mimic. That's a pretty good one. And opponent gets it back one more time, winning all those clashes. So now it's turn 6, and the game has been effectively stalled. There are 0 creatures in play, though we'll see what Ramos has going this turn. There's an Afara for the Ramos. Ooh, a Smothering Tithe. That's a pretty good one. I've been absolutely destroying people with that card. You're just able to make so much mana. You can easily get ahead of your opponents. Mana Crypt flip. Let's go Tails. We won the flip. Big draw. Big draw. Felidar Sovereign is okay. It is okay. Not going to pay for the Smothering Tithe. I'm going to try the Endbringer right here. I'm a little nervous about it, but actually, you know what? Toshiro has 7 cards. It's not board wipe territory right now, but I know Toshiro is probably running a ton of spot removal. But we really need to... Yeah. I think I'm going to go Firesong and Sunspeaker. For the reason of, if we can get some life back with the Aurelius Fury, then we'll be above 40 for the Felidar Sovereign. And if we're above 40 for the Felidar Sovereign, then we can protect the Endbringer. Or at least opponent will need more removal to get rid of Endbringer. And we really need to draw some cards with Endbringer. Yeah, we can give the Firesong haste. Why not, right? Swing at the... Go to combat, swing at the Rafiq opponent one time. And pass turn like that. Firesong Arena for the Toshiro opponent, and a Smothering Tithe. 2 Smothering Tithes. Gaia Reach Sanitarium for the Toshiro. That could be interesting. I would not be sad if they activated that. If we can get one more land, then we should be able to cast Endbringer, give it haste, and draw with it at least once before it comes back to our turn. There's a Gauntlet of Power on black. Does not help us at all. Any Urborgs in play? No Urborgs in play. Smothering Tithe continues to trigger. Here's a Homeward Path. Here comes a Null Mage Advocate. You can tap it to return 2 target cards from an opponent's graveyard to their hand. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Yeah, I guess that works in a political deck. Giving opponents cards back from their graveyard to their hand seems pretty good. Like, pretty good for them. Maybe less good for you. But if you really need to get rid of something, that is a way to do it. But yeah, as a political tool, I could see that being very useful. I probably wouldn't want to run that as just straight removal, especially when you're in green. You already have a lot of good artifact and enchantment removal options anyway. So, cool political tool, but wouldn't necessarily run it just as removal. Serra Sanctum for the Ramos opponent. So, assumingly on some sort of Enchantress plan, it's about the only reason that you would run Serra Sanctum. Ramos able to make a lot of mana. Ramos coming back to play, and they're going to get to scry one time off of the Path of Ancestry. Sure. Ramos sacrificing all their tokens for a Sun Titan. They can either get some lands or a Najeela. Both are good. Going for the Najeela. I suppose they do have a lot of mana production with Smothering Tithe out in play. So with all of that going on, this should hopefully give us a window to be able to get Endbringer down without too much focus on it. Afara is going to trigger, and our Mana Crypt will trigger. Come on, big draw right here. Let's go Tails. On the flip. There's a Wear Tear. That's a pretty good one. What needs to be Wear Teared? Smothering Tithe, the Gauntlet seem like the pretty obvious choices. Smothering Tithe does not come back with the Sun Titan. That seems important. How much damage can we do? We can do 7 damage with Aurelia's Fury. It's not like a super relevant amount. I'm going to go greedy right here. Actually, no. We should be able to go Endbringer and Wear Tear. All right. Yeah, let's try that. Hope that we don't get punished for this. Oh, Sun Titan on board? Yep. This play could make or break the game right here. If we lose as Endbringer without drawing anything, there's a reasonable chance that, like, we just do nothing for the rest of the game. Then we're going to shoot the Gauntlet of Power and the Smothering Tithe with the Wear Tear. Down they go. Send an attack into the Toshiro opponent. Speed up the process of them losing life with this Phyrexian Arena with our Firesong and Sunspeaker. So they go down to 25 for Commander, and we pass the turn. They will draw an additional card, go down to 24. This would actually be a really good time for Volcanic Offering, which I don't think is in this deck, but I wanted to get it in because we've got Cabal Stronghold on there, which is going to start making mana soon, and there's a Serra Sanctum out. And a lot of times, even with like Strip Mine, a lot of times, especially early in the game, you don't like to trade one of your lands to shoot an opponent's land. Like, we're still in the part of the game where we need to be making land drops, and we've actually missed a couple, which is not helping our case at all. But yeah, so like Volcanic Offering is nice in that when you see a lot of those really powerful lands come down, you don't necessarily have to burn one of your lands to do it, and you can still get rid of good creatures on the board as well. A lot of utility in that card. I know it's expensive at 5 mana, but again, this would be a great situation for it. We could take down that Sun Titan and probably also shoot the Ramos and get rid of the 2 best lands in play. So yeah, card I'm probably gonna have to add to this deck after, just because of how good it can be. That having that much utility to generally kill the 2 biggest creatures or get rid of the 2 best lands, and get rid of the 2 best lands is really good. Opponent goes for the throat on the Sun Titan. Nice. Not our Endbringer. Beautiful. Recognizing the power of Sun Titan. And opponent passes the turn. Nice. Didn't cast their commander. Makes me think that they're probably holding up some other instant speed kill spell, so we'll be sure not to attack their way. Opponent says, Sun Titan was only going to get me lands. Why do you hate all of my mana? Yeah, mana is very strong, and Ramos is making a lot of it currently and would have been making even... Ooh, opponent's going to get... Okay, that's not great. So, No Mage Advocate going to shoot the Ramos and Gauntlet of Power and go for the throat. Go back to the hand for the Toshiro. That's not good. That is not good. Progenitor Mimic coming down. Endbringer seems like the best choice. Yep, opponent copies the Endbringer. Perforos God of the Forge coming down for the Ramos opponent. Yep. So some sort of like token creature theme going on, I think. So Najila makes tokens. Perforos cares about tokens. Afara cares about creatures coming in. So maybe some sort of token creature-centric Ramos build with enchantments, maybe? I don't know. Here's a Locust God. Okay, yeah, definitely token strategy for sure. Locust God should take some focus off of our Endbringer. I like that. It's going to trigger the Perforos. So Ramos' opponent's got some stuff going on. That should draw some focus away from our deck, which makes me very, very happy. All right, we get back to our turn. We untap with the Endbringer. That is huge. Afara will trigger. And opponent draws a card with the Afara that triggers a Locust God, and that will in turn trigger the Perforos. So Ramos getting pretty scary, but the Perforos also going to be good at getting the Toshiro out of the game. I don't really want to attack the Toshiro because then they're just going to fire instant speed removal at us. But if we let the Perforos do all the heavy lifting for us, we may just be able to burn them out in a few turns. So Mana Crypt flip for us. Go Tails, lost the flip, so getting a little bit further away from that Felidar Sovereign. There's the land we wanted last turn. Play the land. Do we attack anything? I don't know. I think step one I think is draw a card. Draw a card. We draw Light of Sanctions, prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control by sources you control. Cool. I think I'm going to play the Light of Sanctions right here. Again, I'm not really wanting to attack into the Toshiro. I think we just sit back right here and then try to draw more cards with Endbringer. Maybe ping something down along the way. Vampiric Tutor for the Toshiro. There'll be a lot of life loss. They're going to be at 17 when they come back to their turn. With Najila, Locust God, and Perforos out, they may just die over the next turn. This may be their last chance to untap, unless they have a lot of good removal on hand. And Ugin would be helpful. Ugin, All is Dust, something like that. Locust God will trigger. Ooh. Yeah, Locust God with Afara means that triggers every turn, so then Perforos triggers. Phyrexian Arena triggers. Opponent is down to 15. We're at 26. Would prefer to be higher, but we do have some life gain. We can fire off this Aurelia's Fury if we need to. There's Cabal Coffers, so Toshiro getting that extra mana now. Here comes the Gauntlet of Power. Is Urborg in play? Still no Urborg in play. Opponent said he's struggling with a low life total, doesn't know what to kill. I'm suggesting the Locust God. It's going to kill them very quickly. Opponent cracks a fetch at the end step. Opponent's going to murder on the Locust God. This is actually a good time for us to draw. Ooh, we draw Swords to Plowshares. We'll wait for opponent to recast the Locust God, because it'll use a lot of mana for them to do that. So Locust God will go back to their hand. Also, for any reason, if any of the enchantments become creatures, Swords of Plowshares will be helpful against them. Not particularly close on any of them, but just in case. Opponent's going to Tragic Slip on our commander. Yeah, I guess that's just going to have to happen. So our Endbringer untaps, and opponent will get a copy of their Endbringer. Afara is going to trigger. Opponent now has 2 Endbringers. One is summoning sick, though. More Recross the Paths for the Rafiq opponent. I've never seen Recross the Paths have this much success. Going to clash with the Toshiro. Looking at an Erebos and... Ooh, a Cyclonic Rift. All right. Opponent has only 6 mana at this exact second. Also, Cyclonic Rift still on top. Going to play a Vow of Duty on the Najila. Ooh, it gets +2/+2, huh? Najila now a 5/4. Locust God going back to its owner's hand. At the end step, we will ping a token. Comes in Enlightened Tutor. It's main phase. Opponent will get their card most likely off of the Afara next turn, though. Let's see what they go for. Doubling Season would be interesting. Ooh, opponent goes for a Grasp of Fate. Here comes Heliod, God of the Sun. Yep, more token-producing gods. Trace of Abundance coming down. Locust God coming back. It's going to trigger the Perforos. We go down to 24. I'm going to use the target creature can't attack or block on Najila. And Locust God seems like a fine place to use this. I'll wait till after opponent declares attackers. Nope. Opponent going to go for the throat on that Locust God one more time. Okay. Saving our Swords of Plowshares right there. I'm totally cool for that. Gonna crack the Bloodstained Mire while this is happening. Get a mountain. Opponent's going to use their Endbringer to shoot down the Locust God token. Sweet. It's going to bring it back to our turn. Afara is going to trigger. We'll get a Mana Crypt trigger. Let's go Tails. We lost the flip. Not great. Down to 20. Solemn Simulacrum. I feel like we need to get more than a Solemn Simulacrum in play. Solemn Simulacrum gives us blockers, but there's a bunch of Endbringers out. Let us draw a card. Austere Command is a card. Does not hit the gods, though. What are we doing? Opponent's got an Erebos that they're likely to cast, which means, like, Faladar Sovereign, probably not the best. I guess we play the Solemn Simulacrum and then just try to draw more cards, the Endbringer. So let's get a Plains, start working toward a Maria. We have some nice creatures in the graveyard. Yeah, and then we'll just pass the turn like that. Right at this exact moment in time, we need this game to go much longer to really have a shot. We need to get a lot more lands into play. Games like this are where Oath of Lieges is really good, because when you're behind on lands, that can catch you up in a hurry. Toshiro down to 12. Toshiro coming into play. See what opponent wants to blow up. Ooh, Cage Sun. That is a lot of black mana. With that much mana, I'm not really incentivized to try and save the Toshiro any longer. Oops. Accidentally auto-yielded with the Endbringer. We were supposed to draw right there. Whoopsie. I'm not using the swords on this Progenitor Mimic Endbringer because that'll all get wrapped up in the Austere command. Opponent gonna make the Najeela not able to block this turn. Sounds good to me. Looks like they might be going over that way. Ramos at a much higher life total than the rest of us, 34 life. We're at 20, Toshiro at 12, and Rafiq at 19. So everyone's life total is dwindling down other than the Ramos. Rafiq coming into play. Oh, that's a good one. Sigil of Valor. When a quick creature attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn for each other creature you control. Ooh, this is going to be a lot of damage. It's going to be a lot of damage. So put the Sigil on an Endbringer. So Endbringer swinging into the Ramos opponent, it's going to get a Sigil trigger, a Rafiq double strike trigger, and a Rafiq exalted trigger. This is going to be a lot of damage. Oh, think the Ramos has instant speed interaction. They're going to untap their Serra Sanctum. Okay. Swords of Plowshares, maybe? Oh, opponent can make a token, is what they can do. Do they have enough? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, they have 4 enchantments. They can just make a token with Heliod. On the other hand, we can shoot that token with an Endbringer. Oh, that's the Teferi's protection. Okay. Guess that's going to resolve. I guess we'll wait for that to resolve first. Great card. Sadly, these are very expensive in paper, but this is another one of those cards that should just be 100% of white decks. All right, so now that that's resolved, we're going to draw with the Endbringer. We draw a mountain, so we'll be able to hit our next land drop. Trying to get caught up on lands here is a good idea. We are a deck that cares about playing big burn spells, so mana, very important. That was going to be 20 to the face of the Ramos opponent right there, and that will put them around the rest of our life totals, which would have been nice, but was not to be because of the Teferi's protection. Opponent's still sitting with 3 gods in play, and I think Locust God is in their hand still. The Rafiq opponent, by the way, does have a Cyclonic Rift in hand. That's something that we'll want to be careful of. Here comes Locust God back to play. Yep. Oh, apparently the Vow of Duty on the Najeela phased out and never phased back in. Whoops. I don't really know what the ruling on that is supposed to be, because the Vow of Duty is owned by the Rafiq opponent, but it is attached to the Najeela, and it's still controlled by the Rafiq, and it says all permanents you control, so they don't control that permanent. All permanents you control phase out. Yeah, I don't know. That is a weird interaction. I don't know what's supposed to happen in that case of Vow of Duty being on Najeela and Najeela phasing out, the Vow being owned and controlled by the Rafiq. Ooh, here comes that Grasp of Fate. This may be the end of our card drawing. But that does mean if Cyclonic Rift goes off, then we get Endbringer back, which is okay. Opponent's going to silence the Believers, exile any number of target creatures and all auras attached to them. That's going to be on the Locust God. So Locust God going down. Grasp of Fate coming in. Have a feeling our Endbringer's about to go away. Here comes that Grasp of Fate. Heliod's now a creature, by the way. Might be a reasonable place to park the swords. Going to hit the Cage Sun, the Endbringer, and the Null Mage Advocate. Null Mage Advocate can actually shoot it right now in response. Up. I made a bad. I should have tapped the Endbringer first. Crap. Someone do something. Give us the... Nice. All right. So, Null Mage Advocate is going to destroy the Grasp of Fate and go for the throat and silence the Believers back to the Toshiro opponent. So what we can do is Heliod, I want to exile the Heliod with the swords, but I think Perforos is the one that's really scary. So we're going to Endbringer, do 1 damage to the Ramos opponent. Could have actually shot the Najila with the way this is going to pan out. So Grasp of Fate gets destroyed. The Grasp of Fate trigger will happen. Wait, that's not how that's supposed to work. We're supposed to get those back. Yeah, that one's not supposed to work like that. Like, I know Oblivion Stone does that because they're separate triggers, but Grasp of Fate should not work like that. Well, that hurts a lot. Go for the throat on the Najila. It's going to trigger the Toshiro. Well, that is unfortunate because that is a big loss for us. That's the card we were kind of using to get a lot of things done. Oh, Toshiro gets to use their Vampiric Tutor again. That seems pretty good. Toshiro down to 8 life. Let's see. Perforos could... Ramos could make 1 token and bring them down to 6. They'll lose even more when they untap with Phyrexian Arena. Endbringers all do 1 damage apiece, so they could kill the Toshiro at any time. It's going to bring it back to our turn. Afara is going to trigger. Mana Crypt will trigger. Would really like to win these Mana Crypt flips. We lost the flip. Going to 15. There's another mountain. Alright, was hoping for a little bit more gas right there. I think the play is get Firesong and Sunspeaker back to play. We have 4 mana open. Definitely going to sit on swords. Do we haste Firesong and attack? If we do, we could be wide open to this Rafiq. Yeah, I mean, I guess we just don't have that much else going on. So, actually, you know what? The Heliod could just make a token and block, which is not ideal. So we're just going to stay put with our mana. In the event that we need to, like, instant speed Aurelia's Fury, the Toshiro out of the game for some reason, is a thing that could happen. So Phyrexian Arena is going to trigger for the Toshiro. They're down to 7. Ooh, Sangromancer is a good card. They should have left the Gaia Reach untapped. If you use the Gaia Reach, everyone discards, and then they gain a bunch of life at instant speed. Opponent's going to cast down on our Solemn Simulacrum. Well, we're going to get to draw a card. Sangromancer is going to trigger. Toshiro is going to trigger. We draw. Maybe we should have sent the Fire Song into the Toshiro opponent. We get to draw. We draw Crucible of Worlds. It's fine. That would have been better early in the game before we started missing all of our land drops. Opponent's going to play a Diabolic Edict on the Rafiq opponent. Target player sacrifices a creature. Okay. 2 Sangromancer triggers. Toshiro is going to trigger again. Opponent has Cast Down, Go for the Throat, Tragic Slip, Murder, and Malicious Affliction in the graveyard. That is a lot of stuff. I think everyone's about to lose their creatures. So, opponent creates a token with Heliod. Opponent's going to untap their Serra Sanctum. Opponent's going to use their Heliod 1 more time. So, Perforos triggers twice. Malicious Affliction will trigger the second copy. We will shoot the Toshiro for 1. We will gain 1. I want to leave that Swords to Plowshares up just in case the Rafiq wants to come our way. And opponent's going to use the Endbringer. This should take down the Toshiro. Isn't there supposed to be a... So Toshiro goes down with many triggers on the stack, and we'll actually get to keep our creatures. We get to do 3 damage to any target. I'm actually just going to go to the face of the Rafiq opponent with Perforos in play. That'll make them have to, like, I mean, that means that they'll have to continue to worry about Perforos. Actually, you know what? If opponent just untaps with Heliod, they could probably kill us all. I did not factor that in. Whoops. Yeah, Perforos is primed to win right here. Maybe I could have orchestrated all that a little bit better. I don't know. Could use a really big draw, that's for sure. So opponent's going to get another Endbringer. Afara is going to trigger. Opponent should have that Cyclonic Rift, which they may use at the end step. Opponent's going to shoot a token, okay, with the Endbringer. Opponent's going to shoot the other token with the Endbringer. Opponent's going to move the Sigil over to the Rafiq. Yup. Oh, there's a Finest Hour. All right. Rafiq may be able to take down the Ramos opponent right here. So nice. Rafiq swinging into the Ramos opponent, just like they are supposed to. Finest Hour Exalted, Rafiq Exalted, Finest Hour Extra Combat, Rafiq Double Strike, and Sigil of Valor. This should be plenty of commander damage. It makes me so sad that Finest Hour is Bant and not red-white. Seems like a pretty blatant break of the color pie, if you ask me. Here's an 8/8 double striking Rafiq. Doesn't have lifelink, right? Lifelink would be an issue. So when it goes to 16 commander damage, 16 life, and here comes the second combat step. It's going to be another Rafiq Finest Hour, 2 more Rafiq triggers, and a Sigil trigger. This is going to be a lot of damage. Inferno off the top would be a super sweet draw, although I guess opponent still has Cyclonic Rift. They can go 2-mana mode, which would prevent the life gain on Firesong. So down they go, 42 commander damage. Wow. Rafiq, still so powerful. Oh, man. Doesn't get the love that it used to, but it is still a really strong commander. Opponent's going to Cyclonic Rift. Ooh, that actually works out better than... that's like the best of all situations right there, because now we can board wipe and then recast Firesong without having it go back to the command zone. So that worked out beautifully. As long as opponent doesn't have a negate, we are in fantastic shape. Brings it back to our turn, and by keep winning these, I mean we haven't been winning these at all. Lost it again, down to 9. Dangerous territory. There's a Burnished Heart. Play this mountain. Play the Austere command on big creatures and enchantments. Opponent's going to ping us with the Endbringer. Yup. It's kind of scary. Another Endbringer shot. Yep. So I think that means Felidar Sovereign right here. So big creatures and enchantments get blown up. Main phase, then let's get the Felidar Sovereign. Unfortunately not enough to give it haste this turn, but it does have lifelink, so we're going to need this thing to stick around, and we're going to want to swing away with it so that we can get some life back. Because, woo, we are low. We haven't been winning these mana crypt flips at all, so... I'm really hoping that they don't have specifically Rafiq of the Many and Lightning Greaves. That would be terrible. There's a Madomai. That's worth a Swords to Plowshares. Come on, no boots. Opponent does not equip the Sigil. Okay. Brings it back to our turn. Mana crypt flip. Gotta win these flips. Really don't want to go lower than 7. Tails? Won the flip, finally. Spine Rock Knoll. Alright. Play Spine Rock Knoll. See what's underneath. Get the Hideaway trigger. Star of Extinction's cool, right? Yeah, I like Star of Extinction. Damage doubling not really needed when life totals are 7 and 10. So yeah, put Star of Extinction underneath. I think we have enough to go Firesong, give it haste, sit on Swords to Plowshares, cast Firesong, give it haste, attack with both. Opponent appears to have tricks. Ooh, opponent's gonna block. Interesting. Alright. We may be able to save the swords. Let's see if they have, I don't know, like instant speed giant growth or something like that. No, they're just going to let it go. All right, that went differently than I expected. I'm going to play the Crucible of Worlds right here. Don't have the mana to leave up Burnished Heart to crack it in response to a board wipe or something like that. So don't want to overcommit it. The opponent's at 6 life. Burnished Heart may be the damage we need to get us there if things don't go how we planned them to. So we go back up to 11, which is a huge life swing. That means that we don't die to... That means we have like several turns before Mana Crypt gets us. Obviously if opponent has some damage somewhere, then it's going to change the equation. But gaining 4 life right there, really big. Here comes Rafiq of the Many back to play. Okay. See how much opponent wants to commit into this. Have to wonder if they're holding up a counter spell. Actually, I think we might have them. I think we have it. If we cast Burnished Heart with haste, that should be enough damage. Swords to Plowshares on the Rafiq. Actually, they're going to gain life off the Rafiq. Actually, I didn't think this through. Rafiq is not a blocker. Okay, opponent's got something, so maybe we're baiting out the counter or whatever it is. Opponent's actually going to go... Oh, never mind. Yeah, no, we still have enough damage. Opponent will be at 9, and if we haste the Burnished Heart, then we'll be at 10 damage. Ooh, Render Silent. Okay. Yeah, let's get that Render Silent out of the way. Still in good shape, though. Opponent's got 3 cards in hand. Definitely more cards than us. Mana Crypt flip on us. Let's go Tails. Won the flip. All right, winning the flips when they really matter. We draw into a fetch land. We're going to play this fetched land. Yeah, we're going to play... we'll play the Arid Mesa from the graveyard, just in case we need Mistveil Plains for any reason. But then we're going to play the Burnished Heart. Haste to the Burnished Heart, and this should do it. Opponent says GG. Swing with everything. Opponent going to block the Firesong and take the rest. And down they go. Man, we couldn't catch a wheel to save our life. The one that we had in that Chandra, we used early as removal, and... made me super sad that we had to do that. Tithe, Also, losing the Endbringer when we weren't supposed to. If Endbringer came back like it was supposed to, we would have drawn many more cards right there, which I think would have been really helpful. All right. Whew. Firesong and Sunspeaker. So, this deck, I mean, over the last 2 games, like, The wins don't come easy. You have to really work for them. You need things to go the right way. And even when that happens, you're still probably talking about a long, grindy game. I'm not really sure that there's a way around that with Firesong and Sunspeaker. Like, I don't know that there's a way to consistently make it a faster deck. The one thing that we're supposed to be doing is playing all of the wheel effects with Smothering Tithe. And as of yet, that has not been working out. So, I don't know. Might have to continue to play this deck a little bit. But let's talk about Endbringers. Endbringer is a card that I've been interested in trying out. It was a card that the Command Zone mentioned when they did the Breaking Boros video, which I think was a couple years ago now. But as a potential way to get value in a Boros deck. After playing it right here, I mean, we had a pretty good situation in that we weren't under any immediate pressure. The only real issue was that the Toshiro opponent had just like an endless stream of removal, and that shows you how fragile Endbringer can be. So, you know, it seemed like an eternity just waiting for Endbringer to untap and be able to use its abilities. And then once we got to that point, it's really mana intensive to draw with it. Like, I don't know that drawing is necessarily its best mode. Now, there is a lot of utility in all of its abilities. Being able to ping some targets, being able to say things can't attack or block, or being able to draw the card. There is value in that, but the body itself is just inherently fragile in that it's a creature, and that it doesn't have haste, so you do need to wait to untap with it, and in those early to mid turns, it is very, very mana intense. Now, later in the game, if you draw this thing on like turn 12, and you could give it haste, then you're probably in pretty good shape. And it will actually do a lot of good things for you, I think. But yeah, I wasn't super impressed with it right here. Like, it was fine, and it did help us, but like, let's look at the alternative options that you could run in this slot. Also for 6 mana, you could get Staff of Nin, which gives you the card draw without having to pay additional mana, which is really good, and also the 1 damage, so it's like half of an Endbringer on a less fragile card type. Generally, people run more creature removal than they run artifact removal. You know, Staff of Nin going to be less fragile. You have the Immortal Sun, which, again, similar, 6 mana, draw an extra card, no additional mana investment, but also has some other nice benefits to it. Shuts down planeswalkers, pumps your creatures, I forget what the other ability is, makes your spells cost a little bit less. A lot of good effects on the Immortal Sun, so that's not the worst place to be either. And then there's also something like Mind's Eye, which if you're just looking for the straight card draw, I actually think that Mind's Eye is a little bit better than Endbringer because it's less mana intense. Endbringer was really intense, and the fact that it has to be colorless mana to draw the card means that you need mana rocks out. Mana rocks do get blown up from time to time. If people see that you have an Endbringer and you have mana rocks, they may go for the mana rocks if that's if that's going to shut off your card draw. So yeah, I wasn't super impressed with Endbringer, and I would probably just go with Mind's Eye for the card draw instead, or Staff of Nin or Immortal Sun if you're more partial to those. So I'm glad that we got to play with it. I thought it was fun and interesting and unique, but ultimately I think it's just a little bit slow, a little bit fragile for most metas. If games in your meta go really, really long, then it's probably a pretty good candidate. If you can get it down on turn 8 or 9 and you're expecting the game to go 12 or more turns, then it's actually going to be really helpful, I think. And also assuming that it's going to survive for at least a couple turns. But the utility was really cool, but ultimately I think it's a bit slow and a bit fragile just in being a creature that does a lot of different things that I think it's going to draw hate enough of the time. And the fact that the mana on it is a cost. That is something that you do need to deal with and can be shut down if you don't have enough utility lands or your opponents blow up your mana rocks, etc., etc. So glad we got to play with that. Yeah, so far, I haven't seen this deck go off the way that it's supposed to yet. I'll probably try to keep running it just to see if it's actually worth it. I mean, it's won the last 2 games that we've played with it. It's just been very slow, and we haven't really gotten the thing that we've been setting out to do, which is to wheel a lot. So, yep, those are my thoughts for now. Still needs a little bit more work. Has some cards that you may consider. 2 cards I actually pulled out were Stolen Strategy and Sunbird's Invocation. I think I might actually put Stolen Strategy back in over Endbringer. I just found Endbringer to be painfully slow and fragile, and we weren't able to take the most advantage of Endbringer that we possibly could. Maybe in like a colorless deck, if you're playing like a colorless Eldrazi deck where your deck is just full of colorless lands, full of ramp, you know that you're going to be able to get it out nice and early, and then you can use it as ramp, is probably a good home for it. But for this particular deck, especially with some of the newer cards they've printed, I don't think Endbringer is exactly where we want to be. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.